Good morning, everyone. It's Mirza from Optus Wholesale again. Thank you for your patience. We just had to wait for the last couple of attendees to join the webinar. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for making the time to join us today. It's the second time we've run one of these, and we think it's highly beneficial, not just for our customers, but also our partners here at NBN to understand further about the business that we do with our customers. I'll quickly go through today's agenda and then we can get stuck into the content. However, I'll give a quick introduction and the people we have present with us today. I'll quickly just give a wholesale update and then I'll pass it over to the NBN team that has joined us today here in Sydney at OCS. And then finally, we can open it up to some questions via the webinar tool. So firstly, who we have here. So I'm Mirza, Sehic. I'm the Associate Director for Customer Service within Optus Wholesale, and I look after a different range of products operationally within this group. One of those portfolios that I carry is obviously the residential fixed space, which is around the topic we'll discuss today, is residential grade NBN. From the Optus team, I'm joined by Hattie Sob, who's our operational manager for NBN and residential services, Mylene Basser, who's a manager for our frontline staff, and also Na, who is our marketing manager to support with the NBN product. We're also very lucky to be joined by the NBN team today, who we have an excellent relationship and partnership with. So I'm joined by Pete Finn, Danny Attia, Simon, apologies, and the executive GM for assurance within NBN, Ian Bentley, who will present some of the content today. So we'll kick on. So firstly, I just want to give a quick introduction around Optus Wholesale and the recent operational excellence. It's definitely been a journey for us and joint journey in terms of the NBN product. Now that we are really seeing a lot of scale, we're also maturing in our support model. And some of those things that I wanted to highlight is around Optus Wholesale specifically. We now have 24/7 ordering and faults available that you can do. So that's placing all of your NBN orders with us, or your faults, which is your creation of the fault, sending to NBN, and also the initial triaging, which we do see a high restoration from. We also have bulk ordering capability. That is for large number of services that we enable for you. That's for new orders, or also if you win an existing business for transfers, we can also do bulk transfers. We have now a highly capable and specialized customer service group, which we have which we continuously train and upskill, whether that's internally through our network engineers or also with our NBN partners. They help us upskill those staff, and our operational staff is onshore to support you. We also, as I keep mentioning, our excellent partnership with NBN. Optus Wholesale are lucky enough to be partnering with a dedicated team within NBN who support us with our operational needs. Now, these operational needs could be highly sensitive incidents or critical things that need to be done immediately, but also it's around the short-term, medium-term, and long-term planning to make this product a success. And finally, we have some very key insights and reporting available to us. We now can report through the partnership and support we've had from NBN. We really got that next level reporting, whether it's reporting for wholesale specifically via each service class or geographical location, which is something that we wanted to be obviously in line with the WBA3, but also ACMA regulations as we move forward into the future. So look, that's enough from me. I did want to give a quick snapshot where we're at. I'm happy to follow up on any of these pillars moving forward, but without any further delay, like I said, it's an absolute pleasure to pass it over to Ian Bentley, who will talk us through a little bit about Project Exceed. Ian, thank you.
Thank you, Mirza, and good morning, everyone. And a special welcome as well to Dominic and Glenn. So nice to see you joining again. and good to see your names there again. Love to have you here. What I go through today is really just a couple of things. One is an update on project or program Exceed, which I personally established last year from May onwards to make a step change in the service assurance performance, presenting it in this room last November, which is sort of a halfway point in the program in terms of where we were at. And since then, we have driven considerable improvement, and this is not going to stop. We're going to continue on, and I'll sort of show you where we're heading as well. And it's a very, very sort of exciting journey in terms of where we're going. At the same time, I'm also going to share a little bit around what's actually changed within NBN, which is essentially my boss, Peter Ryan, who heads up the Network Engineering and Operations Division, reporting to the CEO. I will just explain a few changes that have happened in that structure. All of that is about driving a significant improvement in the customer experience, and I'll explain those changes in fact that will be coming into operation very soon. So if we just quickly then go to the slides. I would like this to be, at the end, I'd love to hear your questions or your thoughts. Certainly for myself, my team, NBN, it is all about the customer, it's all about you, and it's about what you need from us. And we will move and bend and change things, obviously, to try and accommodate your needs and actually deliver to your customers' needs. And I really mean that, and I'll share a few sort of things that are happening in that area. Just in terms of a summary where we're at last time on 16th of November, we were halfway into the program. We were still at a point of bedding down a lot of the changes, a lot of the new management changes and structural changes, but we were driving incredibly hard in really step changing the performance. You can see there that we started off the journey at nearly 59% SLA, and at that time in November we were at 81. Our mean time to resolve, which we measure in calendar hours, so this counts weekend hours and it counts 24 hours, so it counts even overnight. So we're not stopping the clock when we use a measure of 74, so including Sundays, right? Sundays 24 hours in that. So the right first time was not where we needed it to be. We're on a journey of improvement. We were around 71%, and our aged incident was, which we define as anything going beyond 7 days. And that actually it kind of aligns to a lot of worldwide benchmarks that we've looked at from other operators. But we were sitting at a number of about 1763, and I'll come on to explain where we've gone with that. Now that was a major reduction since where we started in May, but you'll see we've taken that to a whole new level in the last 6 months. Where we're at today, we're now at 91% in terms of our SLA performance. We have driven a 66% reduction in aged incidents, and we've now got that down to around about 600. Now what's interesting is that with the growth of NBN, you're actually getting typically about another 1,000 to 2,000 more faults each month, just because of the scale of more and more people coming on the network. And as a result, therefore, to maintain that around 600 and drive it down, you remember you've got growth happening at the same time. So this is a terrific result, and I'll explain that in a moment. That's basically about 97 to 98% of faults have been fixed within 7 days. That's what that means. We benchmark that across bigger scale operators in Europe, and it's beating what they're doing. Okay, so I just want to say that this is a really well step change we've driven. On right first time, 91%. On our MTTR, we had a target to achieve in 42 hours. This is everything across metro and rural. It rolls the whole lot across all the technologies. However, it is dominated by FTTN. So FTTN is about 60% of this volume, and we've achieved last week 37 hours, which is our best performance. And we will be driving that even lower, and I'll come on to explaining what we'll be doing there. We've also set it up with Danny here, a dedicated RSP assurance management team with Pete Finn and the team, and all of that is about, again, it's working in partnership with you to drive up a step change in the customer experience, and we'll show obviously some of the improvements that we've seen as a result of that. Let's go to the next slide. This is just really showing the partnership we've had with Optus Wholesale, which I think has been extremely strong, and it's really seen in a couple of areas, and we see this every time we engage with very closely with our RSPs. The time in pending certainly is a big one, which is pending as first action. So this is typically where information is missing in the ticket that has been submitted, or an appointment may not have been set, in which case we'll have to go back to a retail provider and say we need more information, or a new appointment has to be established. You can see quite clearly the difference between what we've seen with Optus Wholesale is that That time in pending is only 5 hours compared to 14 hours from the others, and it's 11% of all tickets coming in versus 20% of the others. So I think it's a reflection, and that pulls through ultimately into the MTTR. It pulls through in terms of improved performance against what the other retail providers are doing. To go into the performance driven, that's where we were in November when we were last here at 74 hours. Again, that's raw calendar hours, counts weekends, counts 24 hours. And that's now at 37 hours against the target of 42. So again, massive step change has happened. And as a result, that has pulled off from our 81% SLA now up to 91% performance. When we benchmark this now against the industry, so we looked at what Telstra reports to the market. So the grey line there is Telstra's ADSL performance, and this is what they quarterly report out. And you can see that they're consistently getting around 65, 63 hours typically as their mean time to resolve. The journey we've been on is now down sitting around 37 hours, 38 hours for FTTN. And we believe that we can take that even lower. Okay, so, and that's important because in the world that we're now in with people on VDSL2 connections and 50 megabit plans are the typical ones, no one's going to wait around over a weekend to have a fault fixed. No one's going to have a fault raised on a Friday and say, sure, we'll come over on Monday. That ain't the world that we're all living in now, and it's an old standard that the old telcos of business operational days and those type of things. We are now exploring basically at a point where we want to engage with the industry and now move to a Saturday appointment for assurance. So people raising faults on a Friday, we're either fixing them Friday or we'll actually expand our calendars for Saturday. So if we do that, we'll pull about another 10 hours off this number. So the difference is we'll be sitting around 27 hours. Okay. So it is a very, very, as I said, we're moving quickly on this one to take this even lower. So again, this is just showing you what we've done. We also benchmark this around operators around Europe, and we're actually ahead of what they're doing. Most of the operators in Europe are sitting on 2-day SLAs. We're on a next business SLA, about 24 hours. And our SLA performance and our mean time to resolve is doing better than what they're doing at a residential level. When we look at on the day, this has not happened through chance. There's been an enormous amount of work working with our delivery partners. This is the on the day. So what this is about is scheduling of work and ensuring that that scheduled work is completed and maximised. And you can see we've gone from about January 87, 86, and now consistently up in around the 94 to 95%. And at the same time, it's pulled up the right first time. The right first time is also being pulled up by significant training of technicians, both across all the technologies, predominantly HFC and FTTN. But continuous learning on what causes the failures in right first time, to then use that as feedback to retrain engineers, so that we basically end up with a customer who says, I have an appointment, they turned up, they fixed it, we're happy. There's still work to do. So I don't believe that we're just sitting there thinking everything's fine. We need to drive this harder, and we'll explain what we're going to do next. If you look at our age performance, these are internal graphs that we actually had to report out, to our CEO, and you can see where we were around that 1700 around the start of the year, around February. We set ourselves an aspirational target of around 766 at the end of the year. That's everything, and we track that against what is a total number, which you can see we got down to 600, and the distressed, which basically means the customer is not selected beyond the SLA. So in this case, if you're non-distressed, it said, well, don't, I'll make an appointment in 10 days time because I'm not really that fussed. Okay, then that would be non-distressed. If you're then simply waiting for the appointment and you really need it fixed, you're in the distressed category. So our distressed in that is about 510. Now that represents about 2%-ish of faults every single week that will be in that category. Okay. These are the transparency metrics that are on the NBN website, and these are what basically significantly drives the organisation. These are monitored every single week. They're discussed with the CEO, with all the EGMs on calls each week, and these are watched continuously to drive sustained improvement. You can see that for the ones that certainly from an assurance perspective are in the blue boxes, which is the fault per 100. You can see that coming down to about 0.9. But the big one there, you can see the lift from 70% to 90% in the restoration time. And you'll see also in the other ones areas where you've got connected homes and businesses, you can see the install right first time, they're now sitting around 92%. You can see the congestion in the busy hour coming down significantly from 6 hours now down to, you know, in the 20-minute category. Okay, all of this is about driving sustained improvement so that customers have a great experience on the NBN network. So what does it mean then in terms of where we go next? We've now established we call it the 2.0 program. Well, we've fixed the basics as far as we're concerned. We call it the basics because a lot of this was done to get ourselves to SLA. But where we're going next, in the next 12 months, will be about driving increased automation. We're going to be delivering an improved tool set to our RSPs. We'll be faster fixing remediation faults. These are things where you get block licks, where things can go for 2 or 3 days and sometimes have gone longer. And we're actually already driving improvements to do that within 5 days with our delivery partners. We'll be scaling our HFC and our FTTC footprint significantly, and that's what we'll be scaling. We'll see that in not only we're seeing that in connections, but we'll be seeing that there for insurance. We've already established a dedicated team for business customers. So this stuff we're doing here that I have on this slide, it's already happening. It's not dreamware, it's not plans. A lot of this is already happening and in place. We've established a business operations center and we've formed a dedicated team purely focusing on all of the corporate end of town and also the business components of businesses. So for example, RSPs that would have a business division, this is where we zoom in and say, well, we'll provide a dedicated help desk, dedicated service, dedicated set of people that only work on business faults, okay, business customer faults. The HFC quality is stuff that we've already begun rolling, and we're seeing about a 96% right first time, which is a retraining of all the technicians in the field. It's already happened. On our FTTC scaling, we're doing about 2,700 connections a week now on FTTC, and it works through 2-way data detection. So we're getting a self-install pass rate at the moment. That's self-install meaning the device is sent to the home, no technicians turning up, and what's the right first time on that? We're getting 90% self-install success. Okay, so that's through 2-way data detection. The repeat fault at the moment, this is again, even though we're getting 90%, there is always going to be those intermittent faults and those faults that come back. We see them. We typically sit around 8% today, and we're going to drive that lower in the next 12 months. And the automation is the key one. We've already deployed in operation today an incident handler, which means when the ticket comes in, what was previously done manually is now being done automated. 20% today of all of our FTTN faults go through an incident handler. It automates all the diagnostic, grabs all the information, sends the ticket to the field if it needs to. It is handled by a technician. The technician resolves the issue. They are come back through our division, back to the RSP, and no human has touched it in NBN. And I'm doing that on 20% of the FTTN faults today. And this is important because when we scale the business, we need to be able to do this very, very effectively and efficiently. We benchmark the performance of what the incident handler does at an automated level against what we've done previously at a BAU or manual level to look at the difference in quality and look at the difference in speed. And already we can see, 5 hours, 10 hours difference in improvement through that automation. The other thing we're going to be doing, it's in the next slide, is this is where this is very exciting for us. This is not vaporware, so this is not sort of the stuff that is just dreamware. This stuff is actually in BRT at the moment, in business readiness testing. It will land into the service assurance, my team's environment in about October. And what it will do is it'll put basically the service information on one screen. You'll have all the fault history. You have the CVC utilization. You've got 15-minute counters that measure all the DSL performance. Okay. And not only that, it will actually be a lot easier in terms of fault handling and troubleshooting, and simply have simple routines on one screen that allows basically an RSP agent to be able to diagnose the issue. It will also show what's also happening in the area, give you the CP information as well. But all of this will be worked. We've got it in BRT. We're testing it in-house at the moment. We'll be using it in-house, and then once we've actually got that bedded down and stable, then we will bring it and shift it into our RSPs as an API or a B2B. No one else that we can see in the market in Australia is offering anything like this, and I've not seen anything in Europe that's been offered at a wholesale level like this either. So this is going to be very, very exciting. There's a huge amount of people involved in it. There's people who've got machine learning expertise, and when you sit with the automation diagnostics that I spoke about before sits behind this. So when you hit a button on this screen that therefore will run routines, it will be running the automation incident handlers that we're running today. It's very exciting. Now, the bit in this is because this is through Danny and the team and the engagement, this is where we would like to work very closely with all our retail providers in, what would be the UX design and what would be the way that, you might want this to look and feel. So the more that you can lean in, get a view of this. We've already shared a lot of this with some of our RSPs today, and there's a lot of excitement and interest in what we're developing here. I think then we'll just on to the summary. The summary really I've got there is at an SLA we've shown there, we've basically at 91%. Our MTTR now at 37 hours and reducing. Right first time in the 90s, our age has hit the targets. We are going to continue to drive this through the transparency metrics. We're not dropping our standards, and we're going to be targeting to get to 93% SLA and 93% right first time this year. And our big focus will be on those tools that will come through, which will literally transform the way we operate and the way that it will make it a lower cost and easier way of actually diagnosing, raising faults from an RSP agent perspective. So Mirza, that probably is covering Exceed, and I think did you want to discuss anything further on the changes in the NEO model or not, or the NBN operating model or not?
No, that's an excellent update. Thank you. I think to get a summary of all the benefits and all the wins so far and everything that's in the pipeline is fantastic to see, and also the improvement at such a rapid rate. We can go to questions, or did you have any other?
I'm happy to go to questions and then talk about where we're going at NBN, or I'll be guided by what people on the phone want to.
Yeah, so if it's okay, we'll have a small pause and jump to some questions regarding Project Exceed, and then we can go back and do the final component, if that's okay. So just to all the attendees on the webinar, if you do have a question, please put it together over the next couple of minutes. And then we'll obviously all the questions are anonymous, and we'll come back and answer them as a general answer. If there's anything specific, I'm more than happy then for us, not just Optus Wholesale, but with NBN to take those things offline if there's something that's very unique or specific to your organization. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to think up and type any of the questions. If too many don't come through in the next couple of minutes, we'll continue with the presentation and come back. So we'll go on mute for the next couple of minutes and give you an opportunity to put some questions through. So again, thank you, and you'll hear from me in the next couple of minutes. Okay, thank you everyone. We've actually had a lot of questions come through, so thank you for that. The more questions, the better. Obviously. So just to kind of open up, there's actually been looking at the questions, a few that relate to a similar topic, which is around the tools. So just quickly on that, from a wholesale perspective, it's definitely something we've been engaged with NBN on two fronts. From the first perspective, our product team has been working very closely with NBN to ensure that we can leverage and pass on any tools or capability that we will have onto our partners. So it's definitely something that we are working on. On the other hand, we have also been working at an operational level to gain the right requirements of what visibility, what tools and practicality we can get, and then pass those through as well. So there's been a joint effort from product and operations to ensure we don't just get a tool, but it's the right tool for us and for our customers. Ian, did you have anything to add on the tools?
Only to say that this has actually been brought up absolutely with the providers that we've been speaking to on this. I mean, I'm reading directly from an email because I came to this meeting knowing this question would be asked. And one of the key developers who's obviously working with us on this tool basically said is, at a high level, the concept would be on the APIs, there'll be a field that shows who is using the service. So it shows the end user, the downstream provider, the RSP. So very clearly actually showing, you know, that who's using it. And from a technical standpoint, I think it's absolutely in the interest to actually provide this. Because at the end of the day, we should be providing a service where, regardless of whether it's an aggregator or a non-aggregated service, RSP, the ability to manage the customer experience and have the tool to see their history, to see their fault performance is absolutely crucial. And I'll give an example of that is that, you know, what's been happening in the UK is they've got over 10 million active VDSL lines in the UK. And this is where getting clarity around what the end user has as an issue, flowing that really cleanly through this interface directly into our organization and into the field technician. So whether it's saying my service was working at, you know, high speed, now it's slow, I'm getting intermittent performance when I'm watching TV, whatever it might be, but a clarity around exactly what the end user is experiencing. And the ability for this tool then to be visible to every RSP, be they aggregated or not, to me is absolutely critical. And we're working through it at the moment. So in answering the question, I'd like to partner, make sure our team's working very closely with Wholesale.
Yes.
And I would like you to bring in a number of your key partners in terms that obviously you work with, so that we can design this effectively.
Thank you, Ian. Okay. There was also a couple of other questions. Did you want to?
I'm just going down the list here, so maybe we can go to the top. So just in terms of what we showed.
So just there's a question around Optus Wholesale's MTTR. Definitely, what we have done is with the support of NBN, we can now report on wholesale only statistics that are definitely aligned to the same metrics that NBN report on for each one of our customers. So we can actually go back and in the next operational meeting with any of our customers, provide insight on any activation performance, but also assurance. And what we've also started to trial is to benchmark a particular customer, so customer A, to our remainder of our wholesale base, just to see how you're going in a kind of confined industry standard, if it's almost a sandboxing. So we definitely can provide that. Okay.
Do you want me to go down the list as well?
Yes, please.
Okay, so there's one here that says, do you think it's fair that the TIO can charge RSPs for fixed wireless congestion issues raised by customers? I'm well aware, obviously, the ACCC's request that has come through on this particular topic. It's not really this forum for me to comment on that. We do understand through the high take-up in the rural areas, regional areas, with high usage in the busy hours driving congestion in some areas. But that is actually for really our regulatory division is working with the ACCC and our response on that. So it's not really for me to comment here. It's not appropriate for me to comment because obviously that's regulatory within NBN. There's one from Dominic here that says statistics really around failed appointments. It's a very good question actually. And again, again, we've had a response or received that from the ACCC in terms of interest in this area around do we track firstly failed appointments? Absolutely we do. We have to track them in terms of what was caused by our inability to deploy a technician versus what was actually not in attendance by the customer themselves. We track this every single week and we do have statistics on that, and again I'm happy to in this case probably not in this forum but directly if we have to share with what we observe around failed appointments. But absolutely I'm well aware of that one, and again that's again in response to an ACCC request as well.
Excellent. The next one's about tools again. So, and I think Ian just touched on that earlier, that we will be in any kind of development and support, we will be involving feedback from our customers. How that looks at this stage, whether they're involved in some of the testing or production, I'm not too sure,
we can come back to some of you regarding that. However, we will continue to gain feedback from all of our customers. So definitely, as the timeline continues.
Yeah. There's a question on that says, are we planning to get lock IDs via GPS coordinates? We do have a number of things around that, and one of the things certainly around not in attendance that we're exploring is how we can actually make sure that the technician, when they recorded as not in attendance, we have the GPS ID or lock that we can then marry up against the lock ID, and actually we're exploring that right now. So that's something that's in flight. There's a question around timeframes and roadmap of these tools. Because that we go through the agile delivery process, which really is literally having drops of capability every 2 weeks, where, even from today all the way through to October. What I can say is certainly that it's probably worthwhile giving you an update once we've got them in our environment, and we can actually show them in terms of maybe a short video around how we're using them in-house.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of timing around when they would be in a position to be ready for the RSPs, around API delivery, etc., then I think that's not something really that your RSPs and Danny's team would need to work together on. Our thinking at the moment is somewhere around like Q3. It's around that February-March time. That's our estimate at the moment.
Fantastic.
And again, that's approximate given the fact we've got agile drops happening all the time.
There's a question a little around Unity and also NBN. So definitely, we work very closely with our colleagues in NBN to ensure that they're aware of any of our system requirements and the usage that we'll be getting from our BCC. Did your NBN team kind of have any feedback on that? I think just with that, we've been involved in the collaboration to have a seamless connection.
Yeah.
I'm not across it, not specifically. No.
Not from your end.
You can take off with Mirza.
We'll take that off. It's something that we've been working at a product level to make sure that there's a seamless connection, obviously, for faults and activations.
Right.
A B2B platform that connects to the NBN, obviously. So
that's similar to the Spring platform for consumer, right?
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. So I'm happy to come back to the specific group that's asked that question offline and talk a little bit more about Unity.
Yeah.
And I'll also bring the support of Danny and Pete if required.
Yep.
Yep.
5G.
Do I? Well, no. Do we do 5G? I'll certainly be a user of 5G. But no, in terms of, it certainly has a place in the market. In terms of obviously the spectrum, obviously in terms of actually allocating that, but in terms of having consistent, rock solid, steady throughput that therefore doesn't shrink or expand, etc., based on users in a particular cell, that you have consistent, reliable performance, then we don't see it as a massive risk in any way. And it's something that certainly has definite use, but in terms of metro areas, we feel that again in terms of connection where we're at the moment, the technology we're deploying, has got basically is future proof, and not only that will give us that consistency and reliability.
Fantastic. I think that looks like all of the questions for now. So what I'll do is I'll pass it back to Ian to go through the last component of the presentation. During this time, if you have any outstanding questions, please submit them through. We'll have a look internally at those questions and try to round them off at the end of the session. So I'll allow for Hattie to go to the follow-up pack and pass it over to Ian. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm really going to go through a very short set of slides here that just talks about the changes that have occurred or changes happening within network engineering and operations. Essentially what this is about really is about making a step change that will dramatically improve the customer experience, so that in terms of the people's, when they're connecting to the network, when there's an assurance event, or when they're using the NBN product or the NBN network, that there's consistency and reliability of service. So essentially what the organisational changes that we're going to drive, and they'll come into fruition on the 13th of August. So these have already been designed. They're going through the actual consultations now, and then obviously will come into effect on the 13th of August and be driven. I really want to step through the next slide, and I can go through what those key things are. I'm going to make it really straightforward and simple. The first one is around, we have obviously there's huge amounts of construction happening at the moment in the network. The key change that's happening there is that there is a shift towards, we report ready to connect, and essentially we're essentially providing an interface into the network planning and deployment team that builds a network that essentially verifies to an even tighter level, to a lock ID level, the ready to connect capability. Now what that means is it is trying to minimize any held order issues that would occur at that premise. Because the last thing you want to do is do a ready to connect and you do it on an area, and then you suddenly find you've got 5 or 10% of properties that suddenly end up with held orders. It doesn't help anyone. And so we're building this interface that not only is stringently verifying the performance on ready to connect, but that function also is also the function that provides the capacity, or does the capacity performance measurements on the network. So essentially, what does that mean? It means that when a customer connects and we're managing all, you saw the graphs that showed you all the congestion management and all the, it measures all the performance drops on modems, it measures all the, whether the HFC modem flaps are happening or whether it's happening at an FTTN level. It's the performance and capacity team that measures the use experience of an end user connected to the NBN network. So essentially it's like a big quality check or quality interface. So that's the first thing that will come into operation. You'll see that, and that will be from the 13th of August. What's the benefit to the customer? Continuous, every single day, every single night, every single week, measurement of the customer experience and proactive management of modem flaps, modem performance issues, whether it's HFC or copper or anything else. So that's what comes into effect with number one. On number two, this is essentially a dedicated NOC. We've already got a NOC. We had 2 NOCs, in fact, HFC and non-HFC and everything else. All of those have come together under one single network operations center, and at the same time that is all around step changing of the proactive management of the network. The really big change that you'll see happening over the next, I would say certainly over the next probably the next 3 to 12 months. Performing essentially, we brought all the field functions across NBN that are not associated with build, and they're being brought into one group. That will have 2 parts to it. One is going to be a team that purely manages the run engine, that manages whether it's assurance, whether it's activation, or whether it's network assurance. It is a dedicated team that manages our delivery partners. Now, where that will go is, now I can't say too much because we're in a tender situation on this at the moment, but NBN will move to control the scheduling and dispatch of tickets of work into the field. So currently today, we do that through our delivery partners who have workforce management centers. We will have the workforce management center in the future. In not too distant future, we will have the team that manages the capacity, we'll have the team that manages the scheduling and the dispatch, and have the direct conversation with the technicians in the field. That's the top box. The box underneath is about building the field service capability. This is where we will start to control who is allowed to do what work, which technicians we will bring on, which ones we will get rid of. We will control the field technician capability, their skill set, both the soft skill and obviously hard technical skill. And as a result of that, you'll see a step up in the Net Promoter Score, or the improvement for the customer. Because at the end of the day, the brand of NBN will be built on essentially the technicians that are out there in the field. They will be the face of NBN. Unless we do this change, we will not be able to control that experience to the same extent that we need to. So what will happen then over the next 12, certainly, and then ongoing, 12 months on ongoing, is that we will have a dedicated field team, and that we will be scheduling their work, and that we'll be controlling tightly the quality of the technicians that are doing the work in the field. So all of this is all about an improved customer experience. All of this will start and go live to the new leadership structure on the 13th of August. And it's going to be a very, very exciting time, as I said, and there's a tender open at the moment on that Workforce Management Centre solution. So that's where we're at.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ian, for that update as well. Hattie, have we had any other questions? Just to all the attendees, if there's any other questions, I'll give a couple of minutes to you to put through any of those. Otherwise, we're more than happy to follow up, whether it's from wholesale only or jointly with our colleagues here at NBN, to follow up with any specific requests that either you didn't get a chance to put forward today, or you would like further information, as we've had to obviously answer some of these questions generally in a general way. So we're more than happy to follow up. I'll give a couple of minutes, and I'm going to place everyone on mute, and I'll come back, and then if there's no other questions, we'll wrap up. So Hattie, go on mute. Okay, thank you, guys. There are a couple of final questions that have come through. Apologies to those who've waited a little bit for us to kind of read through them. So there's just a couple. Ian, did you want to kick off with the first one? There's a question around the improvements in capacity management or expansion.
Yeah, so again, what that's essentially saying is there's a dedicated team that measures the performance of the network, all the congestion, modem flaps, the whole lot, and proactively then triggers all the work to actually upgrade links, upgrade capacity. It's all in one team, whether it's fixed wireless, HFC, it's a multi-technology team, but that way we absolutely carefully manage the customer experience. So all of that is in one place. I can assure you, absolutely assure you, that their data is presented every week to the CEO on performance measures across the whole network. It absolutely has critical focus from a company perspective in terms of the CX metrics, and so that's the fixed metrics, the connect metrics. In this case, this will be the use metrics. So big focus on this area. There's a question which we'll take offline, which says, in terms of coverage where NBN is not available and TC2 currently supports 40 meg max. So again, I'd like to take that question offline with our product team. We can do that.
Yes. Yep.
And there's just another couple of just fly through there. So we're just having a quick read.
So there's a comment around consolidating or joining field teams with the NOC teams, I think.
Okay, so I'll be crystal clear. We're joining all of the field teams together that perform all field activity, be it connection, be it assurance, be it network assurance, be it network quality, be it network maintenance. And these are all regionally, all around the country, and obviously we'll have regional centres that will manage all of that. Their primary job is to drive up the performance of the quality of work. That's not only quality of the network, but also the quality of the technicians that are working in those areas from our delivery partners. The other piece is that the NOC is separate. The NOC will actually have, is really a consolidated NOC that does both HFC and non-HFC. That integration has already started, has already happened. All we're doing is simply saying, you know, we're operating from one consolidated centre, obviously with DR capability.
Yeah. There's a follow-up question just that's slightly similar to that, and that is around obviously reducing the distance between the customer and the technician. I think with the ongoing tools at the moment that we will be offering, the B2B platform that we are currently working with in Optus Wholesale, it will definitely reduce that gap significantly. With the current MTTR performance and reduction, it shows that we're getting to the faults and restoring them very quickly. I would like to go back to that question and take it offline with the person who's asked that, and I'll close that out. I may reach out to the support of Pete and Danny just on that, but we are definitely, that is one of our aims, is to obviously not just reduce in terms of MTTR as a distance, but in terms of accessibility and how quickly we can get someone out there. So I think things, even with the, you know, the model around MTTR and the weekend restoration, are small steps that compound the end outcome there. There's one that's just come through.
And it says, when is Optus going to provide troubleshooting visibility, i.e. being able to see if the NTD port up, MAC address visible, etc. That is exactly what this tool will give.
Yes.
That tool, when it's in the hands of the RSP, you will see whether the port is up or down. You'll see whether it's had intermittent port up and downs in the last 3, 4, 5 weeks or even months. So you have the history. So all the DSL counters, all the layer 2 counters will all be visible to the agent.
So just on the so Ian shared the estimated timings or guidelines around when this tool will be available. From a wholesale perspective, at this stage also, we are not sure if we will be far off or close to. At this stage, what I can provide is an absolute commitment that we're working very closely with NBN to ensure that we are across the current build requirements and input, that when the time does come for release, we're not far behind either way. So that is our commitment.
And that's certainly something that Danny and I have been chatting on, which is this whole planning around the API, or whether it's going to be B2B. The earlier that we engage and we share and we discuss the development of that, then it puts us in a better position to deliver this a lot earlier. And at the same time, it allows training material or training of RSP agents, etc., to understand what is coming. And I'm offering you really an open door on this, Mirza, which is simply saying, come in and have a look.
Yes.
Because the more that we open and share and plan this with you and the team, the better it's going to be for your customers. Okay, that's all we want out of this, right? The quicker you adopt these tools, the better.
Yes.
And so that's my offer to you, and obviously to your customers.
Definitely, and it's something we're very keen to obviously take you up on. There was one also comment around API exposure. Now, this is something that we'll, not to kind of shy away from the question, we will temporarily park it, because I know our product and operational teams will campaign our communications regarding our BCC platform, which is a B2B system and API capability. However, we are working very, very hard to at least release certain components and APIs to our customers to bridge that gap before our full Unity release is available. So at the moment, we obviously try and complement things through automation or bulk servicing. We're also very close in exposing APIs for appointment changes, which even pre-Unity will be available. So full acknowledgement that at the moment our online extranet is maybe not up to speed of where today's market needs it to be, but definitely our Unity platform is going to deliver that. As I said, in that gap or window, we will complement or bridge any individual items through workarounds, whether they're APIs, automation, but we'll also take that definitely offline as we have a proper campaign and communications plan regarding our Unity.
Yeah, there's only one final question I will say is that the platform that we've built this on is obviously a Salesforce platform. Just to be very clear, it runs on the Amazon cloud. So basically all of this data and all this information is running in the most highly available environment we can get our hands on. So it's not running in any sort of NBN data centers or anything like that. This all runs in the Amazon cloud, which gives us the ability to run diagnostics, change the diagnostics, but also gives maximum availability to agents, which is what we want to do. And there's some interesting questions here around field text sections and will there be open communication streams to frontline agents? Again, I think we need to engage with a number of your customers, Mirza, which is around how we flow information from the end users, an accurate description of the problem, flowing that through this interface so we can see it very, very clearly in terms of what the customer is asking, specifically in terms of their issue.
Yep.
And allowing, therefore, then when we start that resolution, how we can actually then provide that information in the best possible way back to the RSP agent. Okay. So I think, again, this is an open door in the design here I'm offering you.
And we'll definitely pass that kind of open door policy to our customers.
Through yourself, obviously, so we don't end up getting bombarded.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Absolutely, and that is the kind of expectation of us with our customer base. Look, team, at the moment, I will close it off there. If there's any questions, again, I really welcome you to provide outside of this forum if you haven't had a chance to do so today. I wanted to thank Ian and his team for coming out to the Optus campus today and jointly presenting an update on Assurance and Project Exceed in particular, and Project Neo. I think it's just a small sample of the collaboration and relationship that we have had with NBN for some time now, particularly in the last 6 months, which has been appreciated.
Could I ask one thing though?
Absolutely.
Like, as we go through the development of this, I think what would be useful, and I know this is an option here, is that we bring in our developers who are developing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we do a webinar specifically on this topic, because I can see quite clearly from the questions that there is a lot of interest in these tools.
90% of the questions. Yes.
And we know that it will be a game changer. And as a result, I think it's very, very useful to show what this stuff is actually looking like, its capability, and if we can have a more focused discussion with the developers.
Definitely.
And I think this audience would love to hear that. That's what I think.
Definitely. From an Optus Wholesale perspective, I think some time ago when Ian, you came out to initially give us the scope of Project Exceed, there was a mention around tools. So for us, as someone who obviously resells your services, we are really, really pleased to see that it was, something that's come through and been fulfilled, and it's really around the corner at the moment.
Exactly.
It really gives us the confidence of having a strong performing product once delivered in the near future. So we're very, very, very happy and appreciative of that. So we will definitely take you up on that offer, and we'll coordinate with you, and we'll do a similar invitation to our customers to be part of that journey. I think the important thing is to bring our customers on that journey. Final comments is, again, we really, really appreciate everyone's attendance to this webinar today. Also, thank you for the questions and your patience over the last couple of months while we've set this session up. I will talk to you all offline to see how we shape the next one, but we've obviously had an indication of what the next topic may be in the near future, which we may even do. It's only August, so even this year, obviously. So
I'd like to do it in the next couple of months.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, as I said, this capability is coming, and so I would like us to, after this, go away, talk to our developer team, and then say, well, what would be the appropriate time? And it might be sort of September or late August or whenever, and say, this is what's coming, this is what we're developing.
I think just a final comment from me is Project Exceed has been obviously a lot of improvement around assurance, and over such a short period of time, we've seen significant and even improvements beyond of what was the goal in many of the aspects that we've gone through today. So I think that's a very exciting time and place to be in to, again, provide confidence regarding the product. From a wholesale perspective, we've also provided additional capability, and we've matured into our approach and support of the product with things, as I said, we've got a lot of things like 24/7 capability within our operations team, whether it's assurance or activations, and a couple of the things I mentioned at the beginning. So final thank you to everyone again, and I really look forward to seeing you and discussing this further over the coming couple of months via operational meetings, and then we'll loop back again hopefully in the next couple of months as well. So on behalf of everyone here in the room in Sydney, thank you, and talk to you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.